Welcome back to our weekly walkthrough where we bring the above, below, and talk about the transits you should know. So we are in the week of October 6th through the 12th of 2025. And for this week, our opening theme actually has 3 different cards, probably because we're starting the week with a full moon. But to begin, we have a rather seasonal 8 of Pentacles, and this is about refinement. This is not the card of just repeating things to do it and just grinding through work, at least not for me. For me, this is about how every repetition of something is practice. Everything allows us to improve a little bit, to see where we're off, to not just get things done, but to be learning in the process. And then we move from that into the 4 of Keys. And this is a little bit of a mysteries card, which makes sense for any of you who are looking forward to some of the holidays coming up. Like, this is about moving into that yin time, at least for those in the northern hemisphere, and really starting to reflect on what is on the other side. Like, now that we're through the equinox, what is next? And then we have the dove again, trying to lead us to the hope. It's like we're not just going through the door, we're going through the door for a purpose. And with that, Monday, we jump into our Rubber Ducky Fool. And this is perfect because, as I said, we have our full moon. It's a full moon in Aries. And we start with Aries in conversation with Uranus and Pluto, kind of hitting the, tip of the spear of that little wedge shape that we have with Uranus and Pluto in Gemini and Aquarius. And really being like, okay, what are we doing collectively? What are we doing, and what is my part in what we are doing? Then Mercury moves into Scorpio, which is also Mars ruled. So our Scorpio Mars will be ruling both the full moon and Mercury now. So this is let's watch your mouth, because it may come out sharper than you mean it to, especially on a full moon. Our full moon will go exact at 9:47 p.m. Mountain Time. And so with that, on Monday, I want you to think about, what can you begin? What an initiation process can you start now? What have you been holding off on that you're like, actually, no, I'm going to do that now? Let yourself really think about that and take those first steps. Tuesday, Mercury immediately, 8:40 in the morning, we get a square to Pluto, which really we're feeling as soon as the ingress happens. Then we have the moon conjunct Chiron and square Jupiter before moving into Taurus at 11:12 p.m. And with that, we have illusion reversed. So Tuesday's a little bit of a reality check. It's like, okay, this is what's happening. Here are the problems. How am I going to face them? All right, we started something Monday, but what's actually going on? We're starting to get more clarity, especially because that full moon dispels the eclipse season. We're finally out of it. So now it's like, oh, what actually happened last month? And the Taurus moon, normally, I'm very hyped about Taurus moon, but on Wednesday, poor Luna kind of goes through the ringer. We have a square to Pluto at 1:24 a.m. Wednesday, and then 3:14, we get an opposition to Mercury. We do have our nice Venus-Jupiter sextile at 5:40 a.m. That is nice. Venus isn't in great condition, but she's hanging in there. But then the Taurus moon will also oppose Mars. So I'm kind of feeling like this might just be an opportunity to address some of the issues we've been having between our body, between others, between those who are controlling us, and really pay attention to that Scorpio sector of your chart, because it's very active right now. The fixed axis is getting a little bit more zhuzh going on, especially Wednesday. And we have the 7 of Swords reversed. And this guy is particularly anguished carrying the swords. This isn't our clever thief. This is why did I take on everybody else's words and thoughts, and why am I trying to get away with this? And I'm just struggling and hurting myself. So Wednesday, you may find yourself unburdening from some of those truths. Just try to do it intentionally. Try to prepare yourself, ground, deep breath before the conflict. or just tell people, like, I can't do this right now. Like, if you really feel like you can't, then go journal about it and do it later. Because Thursday, we have a nice Jupiter's day. The moon will have a much more pleasant conversation with the North Node. And then Jupiter as well, where they have a nice little bit of reception. They're both exalted, both happy. Trine to Venus, nice conversation with Saturn. And then at 11:11 p.m., we jump over into Gemini, where there's a bit of discourse between the moon and our Aries, Neptune, which is at 0 degrees right now and almost back in Pisces. And with that, we have the World card. End of a cycle. We are closing things out. We are moving into a new chapter, reaching some sense of completion. So it's a good time for just finishing some stuff up. Like whether it's internally or externally, just being like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to handle it, especially when it comes to your resource reality, wherever that Taurus sector is in your chart. And also wherever Aries is, because we're hopping out of that and we're going back into the waters. Then Friday, Gemini moon will conjunct Uranus, little jolt. It's giving insomnia, especially for those in like North America and more comparable time zones, because it's at 12:48 a.m. Then a trine to Pluto at 1:24 a.m. And then that's kind of, we just coast with our waning gibbous for the rest of the day. And with that, we have the Eight of Cups reversed. This feels like there may be some grief struggles and a resistance to put things into their right places, a resistance to really process everything or accept some of the conclusions that have been drawn earlier in the week. And so ask yourself, what is it going to take to move on from what has already happened? Because if it's already happened, we can't do anything about it. We can only take that information and go forward with it. Like, we can make new choices, but we can't undo choices. So what is it going to take for you to feel at least okay enough to move on? And from there, we jump into Saturday, where we have the moon at the bendings, which is to say square the nodes, still in Gemini. And then we get the Venus-Saturn opposition, which isn't great, particularly given Saturn is much more resourced right now than Venus is. And speaking of not moving on, we have the Six of Swords reversed. And this feels like the grief is really starting to get to us. So like, if you can take Saturday off, especially because this is happening on Saturn's day, it is a little bit before sunrise, at least where I am, because it'll be at 5:10 a.m. But for those of you, especially when it's like officially Saturn's day, just go easy, be gentle with yourself. The greater malefic square the lesser benefic is not fun. And we also have the moon trine the sun, conversation with Chiron, square Saturn, and square Venus closing out the day. So it's just, it feels uncomfortable. Just feels like Saturday is a little bit about loss, a little bit about grief, a little bit about a resistance to moving on, particularly after Friday. But Sunday, we get our Cancer moon. She is going to square Neptune. But then later in the afternoon, we'll trine Scorpio Mercury. And this gives us the Emperor reversed. And a particularly stoic one at that. And this feels like a call to slow down a bit. It's like, okay, it's been a bit of an emotional week. Bit harder on the body because, full moons can take it out of us. And we've already had a pretty rough season physically in terms of the transits. Last week we had the Venus South Node conjunction. It's not great, especially for the Venusians. So if Taurus Libra placements, like, chill. But with that, what is the inner work that you can do right now? What is the internal restructuring that's going to make all of this easy? Like, if it happens again, if you end up in this situation again, what would make it easier? And how can you commit to those steps now? All right. So that's our week. And with that, this work is brought to you by my patrons. So if you would like to be one or find out more, you know where to do the thing, I'm guessing, in this year 2025 of our good internet. So please do that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or intrigues, hit me with them in the comments below.